Los Angeles Auto Show with Britta Gross, General Motors expert on electrical infrastructure. And you might ask, why does General Motors have an expert on electrical infrastructure? So let's get into that. Britta, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome,
Appreciate
Jack.
it.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about why we care about infrastructure. It's becoming more and more important to think about not just the vehicle itself, but think about what's the vehicle and how does it interact with its environment. These vehicles have an interaction with utilities and with the grid. You're taking that vehicle home, you're plugging it into the wall socket in your garage, and it's important to understand where's that electricity coming from. We have ambitions for very large-scale shifting of these vehicles into the mainstream marketplace.
Right, and one of those ambitions being realized right behind us, the introduction of the Chevrolet Volt as a commercial vehicle. There are critical infrastructure issues involved, aren't there?
Yes, there are. But the reality is, anytime you add a load to the grid, extra plasma screen TVs, extra air conditioners in neighborhoods, the utilities do care where loads are coming on, and you got to watch local distribution issues. They call them distribution issues, right. And you got to watch that. We've been able to actually work with utilities to set standards in place, to work through what's the right charging interface to have with the vehicle, the right answer, so that we're doing this right. Even Gen 1 Volt is going to be a really easy way to charge this vehicle.
And you want it to be pretty simple and pretty transparent, I imagine, as opposed to I have to do a whole bunch of things as a consumer to drive my car.
The Chevy Volt has been designed with exactly that in mind. We took a look at the EV1 back in the 90s. Gee, what prevented that vehicle from making it into mainstream? We had to improve that whole experience. So we've got a four-seater vehicle, much more family-friendly, more capable. There's so much of an issue with this range anxiety, this limited range feature.
Really kind of trauma, you know, will I run out of juice and
exactly.
then I'll have to be towed.
Yeah, what you found was that people were utilizing less than half the range of that battery, because by the time you sort of left home with a full charge, you got halfway out and you realized, I'm getting really nervous, I better go back home and charge my vehicle. So this vehicle charges conveniently into any wall socket. In 8 hours, you can charge the vehicle at 120 volt. And if you want a faster charge, you can charge just like your electric dryer in your home, 220 volt charge in 3 hours.
Let's talk about who will buy these things, because I think there's some clustering issues. You might have 6, 8 people in a particular neighborhood buying Chevrolet Volts. That might put some strain on the current infrastructure, right?
The dryer in your home operates at 240 volts and draws about 30 to 40 amps. The Chevy Volt, charging at 240 volts, draws about 20 amps, less than 20 amps, 15 to 20 amps. That's half the draw of the electric dryer in your home. So again, back to that utility dialogue. Start early, talk to utilities, tell them where these vehicles are coming to the best of your ability. Get them ready. As long as they're ready for this. I mean, were the utilities ready for plasma screen TVs? I'm sure there was not this kind of industry dialogue going on.
Right.
You have to have one single infrastructure solution, which means that any large automaker today that's going to be putting out these plug-in vehicles is going to be able to charge in the same kind of connector in the future going forward. So we've nailed that one. We've almost got a signed-off standard for that connector interface. Confident that we've got an industry standard on that one.
Are you at General Motors looking at this electrically driven vehicle as the be-all and end-all, or is it a stepping stone to pure electric?
We think it is a fantastic solution to getting plug-in vehicles out there. A lot has to be learned about batteries going forward. We have to understand what is the capability of these batteries. Are they going to be limited to 100 miles effectively in vehicles, or are we going to see a day when these vehicles can do 300, 400 miles? American customers are going to probably expect to see 300, 400 mile range on cars, and so we've got to just watch how that evolves. So, you know, who can guess the future? We know that we're positioned very well with a very practical answer. 40 miles takes care of 80% of Americans' commute. So if we could sort of check off that issue and handle commutes, we're in very, very good shape.
What should consumers who are considering the Chevrolet Volt be thinking about?
I think that the one thing I think that's important to start to recognize is that there's going to be a variable experience out there for people charging. Many people can find that three-pronged outlet in the garage, plug it in, and you're good to go. In 8 hours, you got a 120 volt charge. You are fantastic to go. 240 volt, okay, if you want 240 volt, a 3-hour charge, yeah, there's a wall-mounted unit today that's required by electric code. You got to put that on the wall. We're going to try to make that process as seamless and as pleasant and as inobtrusive as possible. But it certainly is going to be a different experience from house to house. It depends on, you know, whether you got the capacity on your circuits to to handle the charge of a vehicle, or whether you need a panel upgrade for that. Again, variability is the name of the game. So don't be, don't be dissatisfied by a bad experience here, a great experience here. We're going to try to control a lot of that variability, but there's no question about it. It's a little bit going to be variable, and we're looking for those early adopters to jump in there and help us refine all those processes across the country.
Well, Britta Gross of General Motors, very exciting day for you
It is.
and for all of us. So thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.